Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tier 1 stream. Right, let's open up the lobby. It should be showing on the stream. It is perfect. Please let me know you can hear me just fine. I have got the intro. I put on the starting soon. Hello, Rose. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. We have ourselves a full grid for Tier 1, so this will be very exciting. Also very worrying for myself, because, non-stop battles, out of breath. I mean, you heard Panos in Tier 2. The poor lad's already got a coughing fit, and he managed to do Tier 2. So no pressure on me. No coughing fit. Should be able to manage this, hopefully. That's not a good start. Just waiting on Mix to load in. Bonjour, Jakub. Don't know why I pronounced your name weirdly. Here we go. We should be loading in now for the qualifying event. 18 minutes around Melbourne. Honestly, one of the most beautiful circuits I've ever seen. There you have it. A full grid. That is beautiful to see. Peen is GPJ. And then we got Haas, which is Mix. Perfect. There we go. Take a breath. I am breathing. I don't know how I'll do later on into the race. We'll have to see what goes on. But let's put everything up on the screen and get ready for quite an exciting race. We've got returning names, of course, but we've also got some new reserve drivers to the grid. We've got some new names on the grid as well. So, for example, let's see. We've got Martin. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm going to stick with Martin. Thankfully, he is happy for me to pronounce that. I'll stick with that to avoid horribly pronouncing it. We've got Soybean back. Maybe he's going to be able to extend his race win streak up to 3, get that hat trick. Arrow reserving in for the Mercedes as well. We've got Chris reserving in for the AlphaTauri, which is going to be really interesting to see how he does. And then also Rico has now come rebranded. I do apologize, Rico, when you watch back on this. I'm going to try and pronounce it. Rico van Basten. Under the team name CPI, the esports team he is signed on with. So congratulations to Rico to get signed on. He's now made his Steam name more professional as per their request. So he's looking fancy with his full name now. I can hear the game is quite quiet on my end. So bear with me whilst I turn this up a notch. There we go. And we can get through for qualifying. We already have one retiree, but that's Vers, who has to serve a qualifying ban. So for all of our drivers serving qualifying ban, we do ask them to retire at the start of the session. Just so that, you know, they are starting as far back of the grid as they can. Unfortunately, if you do DSQ, it is quite possible for you to start behind a retired driver. Now, here we go. We've got the Alfa Romeo Techus crossing the line for the first lap of the session, the F2 champion of Season 7. He's going to put in the provisional pole lap. And if I remember correctly, from Tier 2, the fastest lap time we had was a 1:16.999. And I believe that was Kakarina. So the Alfa Romeo put it on pole by 1/1000th of a second underneath, under 1:17. So let's see what Techus can do. And in the first sector, he puts in a 26.883. So far, a pretty good lap for the Frenchman. Apologies. How could I get that so wrong? Now for the third DRS straight, a 44.447. Techus comes through and he does invalidate his lap, but if he continues on this run, I'm not sure if he is. Could see a provisional. We can't see a provisional. But so far, that first sector was not bad. We do have, however, Paleka in P14, the Haas driver, coming through. He's improved by just under 0.2, so 1.7 of a second improvement, actually. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. It is starting to spice up. Hopefully we can get a couple drivers crossing the line very soon, get some provisional laps. There we go. Arrow provisional pole, a 1:18.687 Mercedes reserve driver to the top of the standings. Seems like his fastest sector was that third sector, a 33.7 And his teammate in P6 didn't quite improve there, as we have now Peleka Petri to the top. Haas 1-2, in fact. It's a 17-2 for Peleka. Then it's a 17-2 for Martin, and then Mix with a 16-9. So he beats the tier 2 time by 0.09 of a second. And we have ourselves a bit of a battle there between Haas and the Mercedes. GOVEE now comes into the race, or into the fight, sorry, onto the second row of the grid, demoted to 5th place immediately as Zitzi goes through for 4th place with a 17-3. GOVEE with an 18-0. So still plenty of time. Going to have plenty of improvement on those laps. Because, of course, over the course of the 18 minutes, the track will ramp up, the grip will ramp up, and the speed will ramp up as well. Timings will drop, and I would not be surprised if we have a lot of drivers in the 116s. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we, let's say, I'm going to estimate top 5 are going to be in the 116s. That's how confident I am with these drivers. They are by far some of the best drivers we have here at Phoenix Simsport, racing with all assists off except for the racing line. And honestly, I don't know how they manage to do it. Week in, week out, they are putting in lap after lap that is improving on what I ever thought was possible, as to choose cross to the line for 5th place, a 17.58. Panos for 6th place, 17.60, and Boosty with a 17.8. So far, you've got ourselves, we've got, what is that, 6 drivers in the 117s quite comfortably. GOVEE just outside of it. Diving into the pits now. Mr. Goat coming around the final few corners. Can the Williams, after scoring a podium in Tier 2, can the Williams put his car up there on the front row of the grid, or at least in the top 5? I think is going to be comfortable for Mr. Goat. It's going to be top 7 with this first lap. And he's just 1/100th of a second behind Tachus, just behind the Alfa Romeo. And unfortunately, his teammate is going to be at the back of the grid, so it's going to be up to Goat to try and make his way through the positions at the start of the race. But no doubt in my mind, he's going to be able to push through. Rico SK now on for P4 at a 17.241. So we are getting close to the 16s. I think my top 5 for 16s, 1 minute 16 lap times, might be a bit too optimistic. We'll have to see. Still got another, I think, 10 minutes left. 11.5 minutes. Who else is on for a lap? We got Ryan Gosling, Red Bull driver. We also got Soybean, Red Bull driver out. In fact, they're both one behind the other on the minimap. You can see there, bottom right-hand side of your screen, just close to each other in the second sector. But I don't think they are going to try and do any teamwork. Ryan Gosling getting out of the way of the AlphaTauri, and I think that's going to be the AlphaTauri of Chris just coming through. But you can see with the throttles, full on the accelerator and partial 10%, 15% on the brakes, trying to burn as much fuel as possible so they can run the fastest lap possible with minimum fuel. I wonder, and I am very curious to know. Please do let me know, Fat Cat. I think if anyone will know, you might know. Is a 116.5 possible on this circuit? Perhaps, I'm not, I feel like 115 is being too optimistic. But I think a 116.5, Myth says it is. If we ever saw a 115 in this tier, I feel bad for the rest of the group. Oh my god, it is possible. Okay. Well, if these drivers can do a 115, it's esports level, but we've got a couple drivers who are looking to get into the esports scene, because it is possible. So it is very much possible. Chris now for his first flying lap of the session in the AlphaTauri, reserving in for the AlphaTauri. And breaking news as well. Something to inform you folks, because it's not yet been announced, but I'll give you some inside news. AlphaTauri have had a recent lineup change for their Tier 2 drivers. And to no surprise, Bottas, recently out of a seat during this past week, now into a new seat, went from Red Bull now to AlphaTauri after a sensational drive in Tier 2, going from basically last place, or in fact it was last place, to leading the race towards the end of it. A very unfortunate 3-second time penalty did send him down, I think it was 2 positions, down to 4th place, but he still drove superbly and has secured himself a very well-deserved seat at the AlphaTauri headquarters. So now let's have a look. Chris coming through the 3rd sector. He's just got 2 corners to go. There is a bit of traffic ahead of him, but I think they will be getting out of the way quite comfortably, or perhaps prepping for their lap. Soybean across the line, a 16.7. An incredible lap for the Red Bull driver. Also, no surprise, he is very quick. And it is going to be quite a bit of competition for the rest of the drivers to compete against him, as Chris crosses now for a 17.405. And Ryan Gosling, Red Bull driver, teammate to Soybean, goes in for P8, a 17.4. So we are looking at a 7/10th gap. Sorry, not 7. Yeah, 7/10th gap. Just under 7/10th gap between the Red Bulls. Reporting mix impeding arrow. Well, if the drivers are being impeded, we do advise them to report it as soon as they can. Well, I say as soon as they can. Do it after the race. Don't do it during the race. It's too dangerous during the race. But let the stewards do their job. That is why there is a rule book in place. Let's have a look. Mr. Flynn, welcome to the chat. Let's have a look who else is on for a lap. We got Mr. GGLand. Unfortunately, he's got an invalidated lap. So perhaps he'll be going off into the box to pick up a fresh set of rubber. JPJ as well, invalidated lap. He's got himself full ERS. So perhaps we're going to see him go for another lap. But he's low on fuel, so I don't think so. We'll have to see. Spinner more than Flinner. Well, I think if we're gonna have to say who's better than the other, we're gonna have to put it to an ACC race, put it to an even playing ground that I know you both drive in. Both are equally talented in the ACC field, so we'll have to see who's gonna do better in the next race, next GT4, GT2 race. Who knows? Prison now on for an outlap. He's gonna come through the beautiful left-right hander of 9 and 10. Beautiful corners, treacherous to try and go too wide. But I wouldn't be too surprised if someone in Tier 1 is willing to make that challenge work. Make that impossibility a practicality in this race. But Brizan, P2 finisher in last season's session. As I do apologise, there was a bit of a snap of oversteer there for Brizan. But Rico goes P2. In the Alfa Romeo, that's a 16.789. He is 3/1000ths off of his friend's time and his competitor's time ahead of him. Let's see what Brizan can do. Finished P2 in the Drivers' Championship last season. Great fight with Panos in the Mercedes team, now signed over to Ferrari. Let's see if they can capitalise on some huge points. Both Ferraris suffered tragedies in Tier 2. Pinax, driver 1 for Ferrari, suffered a game bug, being allowed to pass the safety car and then immediately disqualified. Very unfortunate end to his race. And then Ghost Rider suffered a power cut. So Ferrari looking to try and make up the sad times in Tier 2, but we are still confident. I say we, because I am the Ferrari team principal, but I do my best to try and stay as unbiased as possible when I am commentating. Purple Middlesex for Brizan. Absolutely on fire this man is. And I think we just might see him put it in the low 117s. I'm gonna be slightly pessimistic. I'm gonna say 117 because I said 116 for top 5, and we're just outside of that. And if the yellow flag could just go away for a moment, I can see how much time we've got left. But round the final corner now, 5.5 minutes left. Brizan now to the line, DRS wide open. What can he do in that Ferrari? Cross the line. It is a 117.7. I mean, I was almost right with my guess there. I mean, I was off by a couple tenths, but you know, it happens. Let's have a look though. A lot of drivers are on the grid, and a lot of them are in the pits. JPJ still yet to set lap. Same with GGLand. So I have to see what he can do. P1 and P2 with a 3/1000th of a second difference. Myths, honestly, it's incredible. And like I said last race, I know they picked up on it when they're watching the stream. So Soybean and Rico, to whomever is watching the VOD back, honestly, you guys, I love the competition between the pair of you. JPJ there coming out the first corner, fortunately just steps out of shape and validates his next flying lap. But yeah, as I was saying, I love the banter between the two drivers, and I love the competitiveness between the two of them. Always pushing each other to try and do better. So I'm interested to see how this race will go with them starting side by side. I wouldn't be surprised if they went for the same strategy. So it's just purely down to their setups and their skills. Let's have a look though. JPJ unfortunately invalidated lap. He's not going to have... actually no, he does have enough time to set another lap. The question is, though, is he going to set another lap immediately after this, or is he going to just dive into the pits, try and grab himself a fresh set of softs, recharge the battery fully and all that? But GG Land still not out of the pits, which is quite interesting to see. Let's have a look. Wobbie McQueen, purple middle sector, absolutely on fire. Wobbie McQueen and McLaren, previous lap time, an 18:056, and I did say the provisional lap time, he's just invalidated there in the second sector. He's got time. Actually, does he have time? 1 minute 16. He's got plenty of time to dive in the pits. Grab himself perhaps a fresh set of softs. Recharge that battery. Let's see. Mix. I spun into the same place. You spun at the same place 2 laps in a row. Mix. This is why I changed your name to Saint Skill Issue. Because you sometimes... Actually, I should have changed it to Mix Issue. Because you do have a Mix Issue. Hopefully, though, both you and your teammate sitting P3 and P4, as the team principal for Haas, you need to set a good example for your teammate. And I think I'm going to say it. I'm not going to curse it, but I'm going to say it. I think Australia could be the race where you pull off a strategy, perhaps a strategy masterclass. But at the very least, you finish the race. You cross the line. That's what I want to see, Mix. No pressure at all. I think Mix will be the first of the drivers to cross the line for the final few minutes of the session. So current pole 16.786 and P2 with a 16.789. Can we see Mix? Can we see him on pole? Can he find, crucially, what is that, 1.3 tenths of a second in his lap? In fact, 1.3 tenths would find him in P2. So he needs to find just over that to take pole position. I think it is going to be possible. But he does have a lot of traffic ahead of him. Hopefully they don't get in the way. Hopefully doesn't get involved in any incidents. We have a lot of drivers on the grid. We've also got Paleka in the Haas there and still in the pits. Mr. Goat and MZ Zolt in the pits. In fact, he's just come out now. I'm very speechless. I'm not sure what's going to happen in this qualifying session. Every driver, every single, unfortunately not for Vers with a qualifying ban, but 19 drivers are on the grid. 2 are setting a lap at the moment. Arrow's just crossed the line. He's got a provisional 18.6 on the timing screen. Perhaps he can find some pace, find some improvement, and get up there into the top 15. I think top 15 is comfortably possibility for the Mercedes man, but Mix now to the line. DRS wide open for the final time. The Haas driver and the Haas team principal will cross with a 1:16.774. He doesn't just beat the provisional pole, but he beats it by quite a margin. Wow, 12,000th of a second is still quite a margin, considering how close P1 and P2 were before. Soybean did cross the line earlier. He has invalidated his lap, so Soybean is dead set in P2 at the moment. It is down to Rico to try and fight it. It's down to Paleka, Rico, Zitzi, Panos. So many drivers who could contest this pole position from Mix. And Soybean, unfortunately, is not going to be one of them. I'm going to try and have a run through all of the drivers, who's on a lap, who's not. Martin and Rico, unfortunately, both on an invalidated lap. Panos about to cross the line. 18 seconds left of the session. He's going to be able to squeeze in one final lap. Zitzi is on a flying lap coming through the second sector. He does have an Alpha Tauri just ahead of him. DRS is wide open. There is a yellow flag in the first and second sector. I think that is for the Haas driver there just ahead of him. Now to end the second sector, he does find a 1/10 improvement for Zitzi. So there is looking at a provisional potential for top 5 for the Alpine driver. You can see there the Haas just getting out of the way. I'm going to have to jump and swap and change so many times. So many drivers all on a lap. Ryan Gosling is out of the session in the pits. He is done with qualifying. A 17.4 for P12 at the moment. Cross the line, Martin, with P5 to choose with P10. Now to the line, Zitzi is going to go for... Could it be potentially top 5? He had the pace in the second sector. It's going to be top 5. A 17.119 as Boosty now crosses the line with pole position. A 1:16.752. Soybean unfortunately, will not be able to... Oh, no, wait. Soybean is on a lap. He has managed to find time. Rico crossed the line on 1:16.469. GG Land now to the line at 17.008. So far, still 5 drivers in the 16s, and Soybean is the last in the top 4 to potentially be in the battle to take pole position. I say that, Paleka crossed the line. Unfortunately, no lap improvement there. Soybean now provisionally looking like he could find 4/100th a second, but I don't think it's going to be enough to the line. Soybean, P2 with a 1:16.614. Unfortunately, not close enough to Rico ahead. It is a 1.5 gap between the pair of them. But we have an Alfa Romeo on pole, and Soybean, he is racing. He is racing for a hat-trick of victories. He's going to start this race on the back foot. He's starting in P2, Boosty for P3, Mix and Haas. Mix and Paleka in P4 and 5. Haas are together. GG Land with a 1-lap wonder of a lap. I don't know what that was. GG Land with a 1:17.008 on for P6. Alpine together in 7 and 8. Martin for P9 and Rico SK in P10 for Aston Martin. Mix, I lost a 10th because I had to be careful where I spun twice. Well, I mean, at least you didn't spin again. You managed to put in a hell of a lap, put yourself onto the second row of the grid, so congratulations for that. But now it's for the ultimate challenge of finishing the race. I really hope you can do this. I feel like for the Haas team principle, you know, you got to be setting the right example for your drivers. So you got to finish that race. You got to score points. Well, there you have it, folks. Qualifying is over. What went from just a 3/1000th of a second gap between P1 and 2 is now gone to a 1.5 gap between the pair of them. Rico managed to somehow find lap time when no one else could and get that sub 1:16.5 lap. So massive congratulations to Alfa Romeo and to Rico. I know Joe and Ollie, the 2 team principals for Alfa Romeo, are cheering on their driver, along with his teammate Tachus just sitting down there in P13. Unfortunate to be down outside the top 10, but still, I mean, we've seen drivers come back from the back of the grid to P2. Baltas in Tier 2 went from P20 to P1 in the space of about, 20 laps? He properly did the last to first challenge. It was a very unfortunate race, though, with a 3-second time penalty to see him demoted a few places. But it is possible, and honestly, if anyone can do it, I know Tachus can do it. He's quick. I don't get it. Breathe. Thank you, Myth. I do need to breathe. In fact, I'm going to take a sip of water before the race starts. We've got ourselves, hopefully, a 60-second gap. Enough time for the drivers to change their setups, their tyre strategies, their fuel strategies, and we can get through for a, 29 or 27 lap race? I honestly don't remember now. Someone remind me, please. I think it's a 27 lap race. We'll find out. We'll find out very soon. I'm excited. I'm worried. 29 laps. Thank you, Mix. I'm excited. I'm worried for the race. I'm hoping we can have a much cleaner race in Tier 2. Very unfortunate to have so many incidents. I know the stewards are probably pulling out their hair just looking at the race, but I'm sure they'll do fine. But yeah, Tier 1, I mean, this will be exciting. This will be exciting to say the least. And perhaps if the mods of the chat, I would be interested to know what people would vote for. But at the end of lap 1, who do you think is going to lead the race? Do you think Soybean is going to be able to take the lead? Do you think Rico is going to hold on to the lead of the race as we cross the line for the second lap? Or is someone from the far distance of the grid, someone in P10, someone in P14, just come out of nowhere with a sensational first lap and take the lead? I want to know your thoughts. Here we go. 5 red lights. Alfa Romeo and Red Bull on the front row. A very good start for Rico. The Aston Martin going very far to the right. Contact already between the Aston Martin and the Haas there. But Rico into the first corner remains in the lead of this session. Soybean in P2, Paleka in P3, JPJ up to P4. Zitzi and Martin up as well, a couple positions. There is a bit of a contact there. I think Mix and Boosty, unfortunately, got collected at the first lap there. Half a second already between Rico and Soybean. Comfortable getaway for Soybean, I must have a say. I must have a look at the tyres, and that will explain why Rico, with the medium tyres, had a brilliant start and managed to get away from Soybean quite quickly. Of course, the hards will take a couple laps longer than the mediums to warm up. Yellow flag in the second sector. Hopefully, no drivers out just yet. It looks like Brizen has gone tumbling down the order. Unfortunately, Rico SK just down back of the pack. 5.5 seconds, 5 seconds back. On the soft compound tyres, though, he will be able to catch up very quickly. So far, a very good train between the top 9 drivers. Mr. Goat defending as much as he can. Down the inside goes JPJ, and just over the track. Now we've got Gigilan into the fight, just getting ahead of Paleka already. A very good start for the 2 drivers. Haas down 2 positions. And for the first lap, it is going to be Rico still leading. And in fact, he's almost leading by 9/10. So far, a very clean and a very comfortable getaway for the Alfa Romeo driver, setting the fastest lap, of course, 1:24.535. As we look through the rest of the grid, we've got ourselves a collection of 5 drivers in the pits. We got Martin, Ryan Gosling, Mix, MZ, Zolt, and Rico SK into the pits. As Verge is the first to receive a 3-second time penalty. Down the inside goes Panos. There is contact between the Alpine and the Ferrari. And hopefully no damage to either party, but the Alpine just manages to defend ahead of the Ferrari man. Check P1 while Rico is still in P1. He's comfortably in P1. 1.5 seconds, well, 1.1 seconds, sorry, and a 1.1 second behind Soybean. So they are both in a race of their own now, as JPJ is going to try and build a gap behind as soon as he can. Otherwise, he's going to be under pressure from Gigiland. Of course, the mediums being a much faster tyre. But the mid-pack is where the fighting is at now, as you see Wobby McQueen right before 9 and 10, managing to get just ahead of Mr. Goat, just in time. And now up into the top 10 provisional points so far. The soft compound tyre runners are going to have the pace advantage, I believe, for the next 4 to 5 laps, if I recall correctly. Whilst the medium tyres then, of course, will take advantage. And if we have a look at the positions, I think it's just going to be Panos so far with the most positions gained on the soft compound tyre. He's gone from P11 up to P7. Who else was on the soft? Chris was on the softs. Gone from P12 to P9. So far, 2 very good soft runners climbing a few places. Darkness, we miss you for T2 commentating. Well, I can't do back-to-back. Honestly, it's great. Panos does a great job for Tier 2, and I couldn't have put anyone else better than him to take on the position. I'm struggling for words now, Myths. What's going on? It's not good. Lap 3, and I'm already struggling for words. But so far, relatively clean start. 3 laps in. DRS is now on. We've got 5 drivers, just 1 pit stop behind. Though whilst they are one pit stop behind, I'm really struggling for words. Whilst they are 1 pit stop behind, they are still not out of this race. Safety cars, virtual safety cars are possible. I think we had 2 virtual safety cars in Tier 1, or at least, or Tier 2, sorry. Or at least 2 safety cars, or 2 virtual safety cars. I'm losing it. On to Soybean. Let's have a look at this. 4.5 tenths between Rico and Soybean. This is getting very interesting already. I've said the banned word. I'm sorry, Rose. 4.5 tenths, 2 seconds back to JPJ, who is now under pressure from Gigiland. DRS is quite powerful. We do have Zitzi tumbling down the order. I think he might have made a mistake coming around the penultimate corner, but now the fight is on. We're going to have Soybean versus Rico, Rico versus Soybean. This is the battle we have been waiting for so long, and they are on alternate strategies. Soybean starting out on the slower strategy, but ending the race on the faster compound with less fuel. The tyres won't wear out as much. Rico, though, looking on the mediums, looking to try and get as much pace as he can, as early on as he can, finish the race in the hards. The undercut and the overcut, if I recall correctly, Myths or anyone else, please do correct me if I'm wrong, can be and is very powerful. The undercut, I think, is the most powerful one strategy around this circuit. Now through 9 and 10, beautiful sweeping left, sweeping right. You've got to be careful on the inside there, because you can very easily lose that car over that raised bump. And Mr. Goat now, second driver to fall victim to track limits. It is going to be a tricky circuit for track limits. If the drivers aren't careful, I think there's going to be quite a few with the 3-second time penalty, but it is mostly 9 and 10, I think, is where a lot of people can struggle. Because if you don't get that first turn in, that first left-hander right, that second right-hander, that's where you can struggle, and that's where your car will step out of shape, climb the curb, and unfortunately go drifting over the curb. So a half-second gap now between Soybean and Rico, and they both hit those curbs beautifully. Undercut is OP, but overcut, it can be even better. I know both of them work really well, but I always know every circuit, one is always more powerful than the other. Let's have a look through the rest of the grid. We got Boosty and Mr. Goat having a battle there. Boosty with the soft compound tires just down the inside. Beautiful, beautiful overtake coming through. What is that? 6, 7, and 8 now. As Boosty receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits. That's not going to help him, especially not in the early stages of this race. The Aston Martin driver is someone who is incredibly quick. We have seen him win races after races in Tier 2 last season. Now racing Tier 1 full-time for the first time. And, I mean, he's in a Williams sandwich. This is going to be quite an interesting battle. He's going to go down the inside right before 9 and 10. He does get the move well before the braking zone. And now the two Williams are going to have to try and fight it out between each other. And I think Mr. Goat just slots in ahead of his teammate. And they're not going to fight it out just yet. But Mr. Goat losing a few places so far in this race. Mediums and hards will feel the same after a few laps. The mediums are the OP tire on this track, since the mediums are quicker than the hards and they stay balanced with wear. Ryan Gosling now with a 3-second time penalty. I mean, the mediums seem like the perfect tire in almost every race. I think very few drivers like driving on the hards, and when they do drive on the hards, it's only on a very few races, on a very few number of tracks where the hards are quite comfortable to drive on. So yeah, as you mentioned, they are quite slippy at the start and the end. Only a few circuits are they the optimum tire to start on. So far, we've got... You can see, actually, on the minimap, you've got nice groups of drivers. You've got the leads drivers. You've got Soybean and Rico, who are getting very close to each other. Soybean now with DRS. Don't think we're going to see a change in leadership just yet, but we might see it in the next DRS straight. This is getting very close between the pair of them. I think we could see a change in leadership either in this lap or in the next lap. Soybean looking for a move down the inside, not going to go for it just yet. If he just sticks very close to the rear wing of the Alfa Romeo, stick all the way around, just a few more corners to go, and he's going to have a beautiful straight Rico there with a small bit of a slide there. The back end not really sticking in shape as much as he wants. It is a careful traction zone in that final section, that final few corners. Now with the DRS wide open, you can see the Red Bull is closing that gap down and closing it so close. Unfortunately, not close enough, though, to take the lead of the race. But as I was mentioning earlier, we'll keep an eye on the timing screens there between the pair of them. And I think we might see... Oh, so close between the pair of them. Soybean trying to go for a move, trying to stick to the racing line, but Rico defending beautifully on the inside there as JPJ gets through for P4 now. But yeah, as I was saying, you've got nice packs. You've got yourself the race leader and P2 fighting in their own world. You then got P3, GG Land, defending a train of 5 or 6 cars behind, all the way down to Chus. Then you got Chris in his own battle. Then you got Mr. Goat in his own battle. A lot of individual blocks of battles. But of course, it's going to all change as Soybean around the outside with the DRS change in leadership. It goes to the Red Bull. And it's getting dangerously close between the pair of them. Rico now going to try and come for another move, try and regain the lead before they cross the line. Unfortunately, not quite close enough. That was a superb move by the Red Bull. And now clean air for Soybean. Hard medium is better strat than the mid hard. It is exactly what I said earlier, because you finish the race on lower fuel and the faster compound. Your tires won't wear as much. And oh my goodness, look at that train. That is gorgeous to see. So many drivers so close together, all racing in a beautiful, perfect train. And to choose, after qualifying in P14, he's found himself in the middle of this train. He's got a 4.5 gap ahead and a 4/10 gap behind. He's got to be careful, though. Those hard compound tires. Let's have a look at the tires again in that battle. He's got the hards on. He's got the mediums ahead of him. He's got 2 soft runners behind. He's got to be careful. But I'm curious, Myths. Would you happen to know how long can the softs last before they really do start to drop off a cliff? I know Matt mentioned it before in the Tier 2 stream, but unfortunately I don't recall the data that he recited in the chat. 5 laps and done. So they're on 7-lap-old softs, and they are still going strong. Panos is still staying within that half a second gap to the driver ahead in order to open the rear wing, to open the drag reduction system. That is incredible. You can see the Alpine and the Haas all fighting ahead of him. Let's have a look there between the pair of them. Helicopter cam coming around the final few corners. And I think JPJ is just parking the car beautifully on the curbs, getting beautiful traction out to the corners. And you can see there, just on the exit, he had great traction and he's built up a small gap. But here comes the Haas now. He's going to have the DRS. In fact, there's going to be a massive DRS train between all of them. It's not going to be enough to go for an overtake, but certainly close that gap down. 4 DRS straights on this circuit. 4 of them. And so far, we've seen more trains than we have seen overtakes on those straights. It's quite incredible. Drive up to 15 on them on max, but then after 5 laps, the medium and hards should be better. Well, I mean, I don't know how they're managing to cope with these tyres so far. Wobby McQueen managing to fly past Chris. Already one driver who's found the pace on those medium tyres. 2.5 seconds is what he's got to close into. Panos ahead of him. Can he close it in before Panos pits? Can he try and close that gap in? Stay within a second so that when Panos does eventually pit, he can gain himself clean air and a free DRS trip down the front, but down the main straight. But it is slowly starting to calm down. We need to see who's going to pull the trigger first for the tyre strategy. Of course, the soft runners are going to be the first to try and pit before we see any of the medium runners. Mr. Goat down the inside, managing to go for a move on Mr. Boosty. I don't know why I went for Mr. Boosty, but Mr. Boosty now down to P11, just outside of the points. You can see him trying to go for a move, trying to look for where he can go for a move. And I think, could we see him with a beautiful exit? He does manage to get a very good exit, taking as much of the road, much of the curb on the outside. He's got the DRS to try and close the gap down, but I don't think he has the tyres to be able to close that gap down and go for the overtake just yet. It's going to be a matter of managing those tyres as best as you can. Stay within that 1 second to the car ahead and extend that first stint. And still, Soybean and Rico, 4/10 between the pair of them. They're not losing time between one another, nor are they gaining time to GG Land behind. Very interesting to see how that gap hasn't changed all that much, as Ryan Gosling now receives another 3-second time penalty for track limits. As into the 9 and 10 corners, the beautiful left and right hander. I did not see that coming from a mile away, but Rico now with a beautiful move, just like his friend before him, taking the lead of the race. He regains the lead, and now Soybean is stuck 4/10 behind. Come on. I am very curious to know when a driver is going to start to pit. So, as per what Myth said, 5 laps is when you really start to lose grip. 15 laps is the maximum. I mean, you'd be crazy to try and stretch out the softs to be 15 lap old. As Panos crosses the line for 10 lap old softs, along with Chris. Boosty, I think, is going to do the same as well. They're all going to stay out on the softs. So how far are they going to go? How far are they willing to push these tyres? If we have a look here, the soft compound runners all look to be around 45 to 50% wear. And that's on 10 lap. And after the 50% limit, your tyre temperature, your tyre degradation will increase drastically, and they will drop off a cliff in no time. Curious to note, though, Rico and Soybean, I completely forgot I have my little telemetry data up on my screen. Both hards and mediums. So Soybean started on the hards. He's at 30. He's just ticked over to 35%, and Rico on for winning. Well, I say winning the race, but on leading the race at 40%. So the hards and the mediums are equal, fairly equal on their tyre percentage. But it is awfully quiet. You've got some nice trains. You've got a fight here between the Haas and the McLaren. Ferrari now into the pits, so that is going to be Panos into the pits. And he's done with those softs. Down the inside goes GG Land for the battle with JPJ. Paleka trying to go for a move as well. He's trying to stay as close as he can. He's going to try and go for a move in the Alpine, almost pushing the Alpine along now to the outside. Inside for JPJ. And they're going to go 2 wide through 6 and 7. And this once ended in heartbreak. And it ended in heartbreak again. I was just about to say in Tier 2 that it ended in heartbreak between 2 drivers. And unfortunately, it ended in heartbreak again for another 2 drivers. Safety car for Tier 1. And Paleka is now out of this race after JPJ and Paleka have an unfortunate incident coming through the second sector. Just entering the second sector. Did I jinx that? I really hope I didn't jinx that. I was really hoping they would be able to get through it really cleanly, but safety car, folks. We have a full course caution. 1 driver is out of the race. Slow button on. Indeed, you are right there, Jakob. And Zitzi is the first to box, along with MZ, Zolt, Rico SK, and Mix to box as well. So now, this changes everything. So many different strategies can change. Those who are on the softs have honestly, they have been handed their position on a silver platter, is what's happened here. Because Chris is not going to lose positions. He's not going to lose that many positions because you lose half the time on the safety car. But not only do you lose only half the time, but everyone else around him is going to box as well. So Chris, from P5, will remain, provisionally, hopefully, in P5. If he does not get a terrible exit, he gets out just in time. I think he's going to stay in P5. So Chris with a beautiful strategy into the top 5 positions. Rico onto the hard, Soybe onto the medium. So they've opted to go for the second stint of their strategy. GG land from out of nowhere. He's come through and taken P3 now. Techus. I mean, I said if anyone's going to do it, I said it was going to be Techus. He's up into P4. Alfa Romeo looking to score provisionally some great points in 1 and 4. And Techus with the most most positions gained, sorry, off the start of the race, along with Mr. Goat. 9 positions for the pair of them. So, everyone, onto the second stint. Smiths. I went for the 2-stop this race. Soft, medium, medium. I wonder if that's what everyone's going to go for. But having said that, we've had drivers go 11 laps on the softs. And the mediums can certainly go longer than that. Soft, medium, soft. Still, I think if they went, let's say, 10 laps. If they went 10 laps on the mediums and then pitted for the softs, I mean, they would comfortably finish the race. I'm trying to work this out in my head. Mix, what do you mean I jinxed you? I didn't jinx you. I just said finish the line. Cross the line. That's true. That's true, Myths. 2 safety cars, lap 12 and lap 20. So that does certainly change things up. But with 1 safety car, I think that's still going to change the course of the race quite drastically, where the mediums will not make it to the end. The mediums will slowly drop off. They will be very hurt towards the end of the race. I think the hards may have the advantage. Pitting for the softs, unless you are incredibly quick or incredibly lucky with a virtual safety car, I think pitting for the softs on a 2-stop strategy will severely hurt your race more than help it. Now we have a moment to wait for the flag to be waved, for the safety guard to be called in. It won't be until the 3rd sector, so I'll just be back in a moment to drink some water, because I think I might struggle a little bit. This is going to be... It's going to be an intriguing safety car restart. We've seen Soybean restart a few times at Suzuka. He took it quite early, went off just after the chicane, and then for another restart, he went all the way down to the line before going in. Safety car in this lap. So how is Rico going to play this? He's already slowing the pack down right before corner 9 and 10. And a neat statistic, a neat bit of information that I can see. In the speed trap, Brizzen is the fastest of them all at 332 kilometers per hour. So Brizzen absolutely flying through the speed trap, which I believe is at the end of the main straight. We're going to sit on board. We're going to put on the telemetry here. We're going to sit on board with Rico, who is just going to relax. He's going to take his time. Third sector now. We've just got a few corners left to go. And we're going to see him try and floor it. You can see he's burning some fuel. Mix with a 5-second time penalty for collision with Rico. Very unfortunate for the Haas driver. Rico still going slowly, but I think there we go. He's already full speed. ERS is on. Did he manage to catch Soybean asleep? No, he didn't. But Soybean is under heavy pressure. GG Land very close behind. 1/10, half a tenth behind. We're not going to see any overtakes into the first corner. But so far, I think Soybean managed to actually get a really good exit. He managed to get a really good start off of Rico's restart. And now Techus down the inside. A beautiful move from the Alfa Romeo, trying to go for an overtake for provisional podium positions. Unfortunately, not quite getting the traction, not quite getting the speed that he needed to get ahead now. We've got a bit of a fight going on in the middle of the pack. I'll have a look at that in just a moment. But we've got Gigiland now on for P3. We've got Techus just behind. Chris just behind. Chris, who I am looking to see finish in the points. He's got a strategy masterclass that he's got to teach us, because this is an incredible work for the AlphaTauri driver. Panos currently sitting in P6. We got Mr. Goat, JPJ, Wobby, and Arrow to finish out the top 10. And I think so far, we are still racing really well. GGland defending as well as he can. I think... Oh, we've got an Alpine at the back there. That's going to be JPJ. JPJ with a very unfortunate exit. And we've also got a car off into the distance. We have a car off into the gravel trap. I am not sure who it was, but someone is off. That is the Aston Martin. I think that is for Rico SK. Unfortunately, now into the gravel trap as Rico crosses the line now. And we've got Boosty, the other Aston Martin, into the pits now. Mix as well. So far, the first lap of the restart, it was relatively clean. Boosty, unfortunately, retiring from the race. That's going to be the end of his session for the Aston Martin team, as Panos manages to make a move up on his friend and his competitor, Chris. Just going through now for P5. As Mix as well. So that is a double DNF for Haas. The team principal and the teammate both out of this race. And I am so sorry, Mix, if I jinxed that for you. I was hopeful. I was being very hopeful that you'd be able to finish the race after a series of unfortunate races. But it does happen. It happens to the best of us. I mean, we can see them come back and come back stronger. And we've got ourselves a battle now. Ferrari between McLaren, between Red Bull. 3 drivers all so close together. Sorry, not McLaren. The Mercedes. The other Mercedes power unit. So now Ryan Gosling on for top 10. Arrow so close behind. Both Mercedes trying to look for a move as they sit outside of the points at the moment. My streak is now a 10-race DNF. That is honestly, I mean, I've got a 10-race or something or the other of not failing to finish in the points mix. So you and I both have a skill issue together. Don't you worry, friend. But now across the line, DRS is now enabled. Ryan Gosling, I forgot to turn off telemetry, but you can see there he's already quite low. Trying to close that gap down as quick as he can. And I've managed to change the timings by accident. There we go. Put it back onto interval. Rico with a 3.5 gap to Soybean behind. I know I've been talking about the top 2 a fair number of times, but this is a very close battle for the lead of the race. This is a close battle we've been looking to have between these two, and now we're going to see them go 2 wide. Soybean now with DRS. He's going to comfortably go flying through now, right before 9 and 10 for that third sector. He's going to put in the purple second sector as well and take home, or at least lead, sorry, the race. And Techus is through for P3. It is a provisional double podium for the Alfa Romeos. But can Techus hold on to it? He has got himself a very fast GG Land behind. We have another retiree, and it's going to be for the AlphaTauri team principal. MZ Sol, unfortunately, is now out of this race as he comes through 9 and 10. I think he was collected in a collision there. Let's have a look. It is, I think, a collection with the Alpine. I can't quite see it. Doesn't look like he's got any front wing, but as another safety car, and a lot of drivers are going to try and box And this is going to be a free box for those who want to finish the race on either the mediums or the softs. GGLand and Panos have gone to the softs. Who else is going to go to the softs? Wobbly McQueen onto the softs. Mr. Go onto the mediums. Rico onto the... So Rico has given up a lot of track positions to pit onto the mediums. He's now down to P8. His teammate now on for a provisional P2. The top 7 opted to not box. And Soybean, unfortunately, has left the session. Hopefully, we can get him back in before the safety car goes in. But we have a second safety car, and this has spiced things up even further now. I am quite speechless. I don't know what to say. I am curious to know, though. Soybean opted to go for the hard-medium strategy and has opted to not box. Whereas Rico, who went for the medium-hard strategy, has then boxed again for the medium. So he does have the tire advantage. He will, in the end, have the tire advantage, but he then also has 7 positions to gain before he can fight for the lead of the race. So Soybean now has got 7 cars, 6 cars of breathing room behind. He's got to build as much of a gap behind before his competitor gets close to him. Hopefully we can get Soybean in. Safety car will not be in this lap, I don't think, because it does normally come out with the message in the second sector. But Techus sitting for P2 at the moment for Alfa Romeo. We got 2 Alphas in the top 3, Alfa Romeo and Alpha Tauri. In fact, oh my goodness, the top 7, all the 7 drivers who did not box, as Brizin now goes into the pits, are all of different constructors. That's interesting. That's very interesting. But Brizin now, he's opting to also lose out on track position onto the soft compound tires to finish the race. Sitting, I think he's going to come out in P16 just behind Zitzi. So he's going to have a lot of positions to gain. 6 positions to gain 4 points. But considering the altering tire strategies, I think... I don't know. I don't think it would work. I don't know if it would work. 2.25 was his pit stop. Very good pit stop for the Ferrari man. But I don't know. Myths. I mean, you're my track engineer at the moment. Myths, I want to hear your thoughts. If you're still there. What strategy is going to come out on top? Could it be those who did not pit? Could it be those who opted to stick on their one stop and not go for the extra pit stop? Or those going from Rico down to the rest of the grid who have gone in for the fresh tyres? Fresh mediums are best, says Chewy. Welcome, Chewy. I mean, for your first race, Chewy, I want to just mention, for your first race in Tier 2, excellent drive. Well-deserved race victory. Looking forward to see what the rest of the season has in store for you and for Red Bull. We still haven't got Soybean back into the lobby. Hopefully we can get him back in as soon as possible. Let me have a look to see if I've got him in my friends list as well. I have a feeling I won't have him in my friends list. I'm going to go through the entire list. I can see we're in the 3rd sector. Soybean's joined. There we go. Alright, I don't need to worry about it. Hopefully he can regain control of his car. Safety car is in this lap. Techus is right on his tail. Same with Chris, JPJ, Ryan, Martin, Rico, GGLand, Panos, and Mr. Goat. And his AI has already gone. His AI is going full speed now down the main straight. Unfortunately, no ERS is going to be used up. And now into the first corner, Techus is going to take the lead of the race. And Soybean's going to lose 2 positions now without a very unfortunate disconnect. And in fact, Techus does not take the lead. Chris manages to go down the inside into the lead of the race with a 7/10 gap. A whopping 7/10 gap. Techus and JPJ now side by side, just backing out the fight. JPJ now goes through for the 2nd place and just coming through the corner, taking a little too much curb, unfortunately, not managing. And Rico is out of the race. Rico for Alfa Romeo is now out of the race. Wobbly McQueen with a 3-second time penalty with a yellow flag in the 1st sector. What is going on this race? But Chris is now in the lead. 9/10 is the gap between P1 and P2. JPJ has got himself a battle ahead and a battle behind us. Soybean is back into the race, and Soybean has got a lot of drivers all close together right behind him. Panos and Gigiland going side by side. The Mercedes has also gone off, and Soybean's gone off into the wall. Soybean's been disconnected from the session, and unfortunately that's going to be the out. That's going to be the end of his session. I'm so very confused. What is going on? We have a virtual safety car, folks. Chris is into the lead of the race to choose for P2. Soybean and Rico, two drivers battling for the lead of the race, unfortunately, is now out of the race. And with 9 laps left to go, we have a full course caution. Drivers have to reduce their speed by, I think it's 30 or 40%. Martin is into the pits now. Joe, welcome to the chat. From the last safety car to this safety car, we've lost 2 race leaders. Soybean and Rico, unfortunately, out of this race. Rico, I'm not sure what happened. I just saw the retired message come up on my screen as JPJ receives a 5-second time penalty for severe collision with Tachus. And JPJ, as he got damaged, he does his front wing damage, unfortunately. But we did see Kakarinas. Kakarinas had front wing damage. He managed to climb a couple positions, stay within the fight, so it is possible for JPJ to still stay in this fight. I say that as GG Land with the soft compound tyres comes steamrolling through, now on for P3, and a brilliant move, and a comfortable move as Panos getting so close, perilously close to the wall there, almost smashing into the wall, gets through ahead as well now. So the 2 soft runners, GG Land and Panos, are on the hunt for the lead of the race as we now lose another driver, and that's going to be a full safety car as Arrow is out of this race. What is going on? In the course of 3 laps, we have lost 3 drivers, 3 very promising drivers. Rico, I retired on track on purpose in the menu thing. Ryan Gosling just moves 4 times on a straight line to give me wing damage. Because of that, I just can't be bothered. Very unfortunate end to your race, Rico. And unfortunately will result in a penalty, but we do advise all drivers, if you've seen another driver ahead of you, of course, we've got half the grid now boxing with this very late safety car, so we need soft tyres for the rest of the grid. But like I said, like we've said before, sorry, if a driver has clearly violated the rules, please do report it. The rulebook is there for a reason. The stewards are going to have a fun time on Tuesday evening, and I'm sure they are not going to get a second of sleep with the number of incidents. But to choose now, leader of the race, 9-lap-old mediums. Not sure that was the best call to stay out on those mediums. He's got 3 very fast drivers behind Gigiland on the softs, Panos and Brizin on the softs. In fact, the rest of the grid are on the softs behind. I think Panos is in a very tricky position, looking to try and score points for Alfa Romeo. Now, if he were to box, by the time they reach the pit, he's going to lose a lot of places, and he's going to lose a lot more than he can gain by remaining on track now for the last 6th lap of the race. Chewy, one moment, sorry about that. Soybean, what a game. I mean, it is a beautiful game. There you have it, folks, the penalties. We've got Zitzi with 6 seconds, Chris with 6, Martin with 3, Ryan with 6, Vers with 6, Wobby with 6, and Mr. Goat with 6. Fortunately, no 5-second time penalties for... no time penalties for speeding in the pit lane. Safety car bugged. Oh dear. They are approaching the safety car now. It is in the 3rd sector. I really hope it isn't bugged. 6 laps left to go. Safety car is driving. Please tell me it is driving. It is driving. There we go. So it is going. Hopefully that is stable. Hopefully that's stable enough for the stewards to not have to call a red flag. We'll have to see and wait for the announcement if that has to be called. But they have caught up to the safety car now. And no doubt in my mind, safety car will be in this lap. So we're going to have lap 25 is going to be lap of racing. 2 laps without DRS and 2 laps with DRS. I have no clue, Myths. I'm waiting to see if the stewards call it. It's up to them. There we have it. Joe, one of the steward members, has confirmed that the safety car's fixed. So there we go. Just going to wait for Mr. Goat to catch up. I think, actually, is it going to wait for Mr. Goat to catch up? I'm not too sure. I think it should. I think it should wait for the Williams driver to catch up. I mean, he's going to catch up comfortably now that I think about it. Safety car will undoubtedly be in the pits this lap, and I agree with Soybean. Just having a look at the paddock chat, and Codemasters have built us a beautiful game. Thank you, Codemasters. Thank you, EA. You constantly like to drain us of our money each year. 60 quid each game, something like that. Every year around June to July, and continue to have a bug fest with the game. So thank you. But let's see what we can do with it. Let's make the best of what we've got. For we've got 5 laps of racing, 4 laps of racing left to go. Safety car in this lap. 13 drivers left, so 10 drivers looking to score points. And more than half the grid, that is 7 drivers, have got penalties to serve at the end of the race. They cannot serve it in the pits, that's why it is still next to their name. And Techus looking in a very, very tricky spot. He's in P1. He's looking at a very good P1. It would be amazing to see Alfa Romeo win this, but unfortunately he is on 11 lap-old mediums. It is going to be a very difficult run for Techus as he comes round the final corner, and I think that's it. He's going to go. He's pulled the trigger. He's already pulling the DRS, and he is trying to pull a gap as much as he can. GG Land is hot on his tail, but not close enough. Not enough to take the lead of the race. And let's try and clear this as GG Land now gets a 3-second time penalty and provisionally is into lead of the race. He's got the inside line. He's got the outside line, sorry. And can he make the move? He can almost. There is contact between the Alfa Romeo and the McLaren, but GG Land is through for the lead of the race to choose down to P2. Zitzi has got a bit of a contact there. The AlphaTauri, Chris going very wide now with a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And we got another battle just at the back there. Vers is trying to have a battle with Ryan Gosling. Very close for a second there. I thought we were going to have almost 3 wide. Panos now all over the gearbox of Techus. Like I said, a very unfortunate restart for Techus on the medium tyres, whilst the rest of the grid on the softs. We're going to come through 9 and 10. Quick left-hander. Quickly switch to the right. Get a beautiful exit. We're going to see Panos potentially go for a move. Can he go for the move? I think we're going to see Panos try and go for the move. Switching to the inside. Not quite close enough, unfortunately. He cannot get P2 at the moment. And then we've got another driver going off there. I think that's going to be the Aston Martin. No, that's the Mercedes of Martin, unfortunately. Just going off a bit into the gravel. They're hopefully not losing too much. Hopefully no damage to his car. Underbody damage is certainly a possibility as Panos gets through ahead of Techus now for P2. And there is a yellow flag already for the 2 drivers at the back. That's going to be Mr. Go and Wobby McQueen now as Panos and Brizin get through ahead of Techus. I say ahead, not just yet. Brizin trying to go for a move down the inside, not quite close enough. Unfortunately, he's going to have to go for a move around the outside now, closing in very quickly. Techus, though, can he defend? There is contact between the pair of them, but I think they have come off very cleanly. No damage to either party from what I can see, and now the Red Bull has gone through. Now the Mercedes has gone through. Techus is tumbling down the order, down to P6 so far. GG Land with a stellar start. He's got a whopping 1.8 seconds, nearly 1.9 seconds of a second gap to the drivers behind. Let's have another look. Techus now 0.7 seconds behind. The battles are now between Rico and Chris, pushing each other along. SK is going to try and go for a move. He's going to go down the inside now, right before 9 and 10, and well before the braking zone. He's now ahead for P8. And he does go off the track there. You can see his tyres are just throwing off as much gravel as he can. That's going to lose him a bit of time. And now down the inside goes Chris. Regains 8th place. Is it going to be the switchback for Rico? It is. A very clean switchback for Rico. Certainly one I'd love to see in the overtakes. In the overtake awards for this round. And Rico now through for P8 as Chris receives another 3-second time penalty for track limits. And Myths, as you requested, there you go. There's your penalties. G-Land with 3-second time penalty. He's got to build another gap if he wants to try and win this race. He's got a 1.2 second gap to try and build to the Panos behind. Brizin is closing in as well. Ryan Gosling with a 6-second time penalty. He's going to try and win for a provisional on-track podium finish. But unfortunately, that 6 seconds is going to send him tumbling down the order. As now Zitzi into the pits has retired from the session with just 2 laps left to go. He is now out of this race session as JPJ is now fighting, and there's a car going off. In fact, that's going to be Wobbie McQueen. Unfortunately, Wobbie McQueen has spun round in that second sector. It's going to be him tumbling down and out of the point, comfortably out of the point. Uncomfortably out of the point. Apologies, Webby, when you rewatch this. I do not mean to say that you spinning out was good. It is very bad indeed. The McLaren team principal, his first season as team principal, has now spun around 13 seconds at the back of the grid. As Tachus and Verz are going to have a bit of a battle here for P6. Unfortunately, Tachus just not able to stop the car in time. Not able to fight as much as he would have wanted to with the soft compound around him. And as we cross the line, GG-Land still not managing to close that gap down. Panos is staying within that 1.8 second gap. Brizin just half a second back, and Ryan Gosling and Martin are so close together. This battle is going to go all the way down to the line. Brizin's, in fact, going to have a bit of a battle on him now, as we've got Ryan Gosling. Can we get the helicopter cam? We can. Tries to go for a move around the outside. Brizin's got the inside line. Now got the outside line again. Can they go too wide? They can. They're making it work. And Brizin has defended beautifully. Still maintains the lead in this battle. Still maintains a provisional podium. I will hydrate after the stream, Rose. I cannot do it now. This is too exciting. I say that as I cough again. Ryan Gosling now 1.5 tenths behind. He's going to close that gap even further. He's going to have DRS. He's going to have the pace. He's going to have the inside line. But can he get the move done before the braking zone? Before we get into the corner, he does. Ryan Gosling now on for a provisional podium position. He does take a lot of the curb on the outside there. And unfortunately, going to lose a lot of time now. Brizin on the comeback. Martin on the comeback. Brizin will take P3. But unfortunately, Martin not quite close enough to take and put his nose into that fight. And actually, I say that, Brizin makes the comeback, unfortunately not close enough. And all this fighting is helping Panos. He's in a race of his own now with a 2-second gap behind and practically a 2-second gap ahead. I'm checking P1, Jakob, and he has got 1 lap now to climb. He has got to find 1.2 seconds, 1.3 seconds in this lap away from Panos if he wants to win this race. Otherwise, it's looking like a P2 finish for GG-Land as Brizin now comes through for P3. An on-track finish for P3, not after penalties. But I've only just noticed this now. Tachus, he's hanging on. He is 3.5 tenths off of Verz, with 3 drivers ahead of him, all with penalties. A P3 is still possible. Oh, sorry, a P4 is still possible to choose. All hope is not lost for the Alfa Romeos. As Martin now comes through with that DRS, he gets ahead of the Red Bull. He's trying to and go for a move onto that Ferrari, and he makes it work. It is a double overtake for the Mercedes and for the Red Bull, going through for P3 and P4. But unfortunately, with those track penalties, they are not going to hold on to those positions. It is still going to go to Brizin. Now, as we go on board with GG-Land, for the first time ever, GG-Land in Tier 1 is going to come across the line in first place. Unfortunately, with track limits, he will go down to P2, but still a sensational drive for GG-Land, going all the way from P6 all the way up to P2, and Panos takes the race victory by 1.4 seconds from P11 to P1. Brizin from P14 to P3. An excellent drive from Ferrari. Tachus secures P4 after what I thought was a strategy mistake. Turns out to be a beautiful strategy for Tachus, still scoring crucial points after a very unfortunate retirement for his teammate. And Martins crosses for P5, JPJ P6, Ryan for P7, Verz, Rico, and Goat for P10. 8, 9, and 10. So Williams with double points and Ferrari with double points. And unfortunately, Chris, who was leading the race at one point, couldn't quite win it. And Wobby McQueen, a very unfortunate race for the McLaren team principal. He's now going to cross the line in P12. The entire top 5 from Quali DNF'd. That is a scary thought, it makes. I did not realize that. Brizin with Driver of the Day, climbing the most positions. And I think it's difficult to say without sounding biased, but I think it does go to Brizin. He went from so far down the order to the top of the grid, to the podium position, sorry. An excellent drive. Techus, well done. Thank you for the subscription again, the Tier 1 subscription. A massive congratulations to Alfa Romeo for a very well-deserved P4. Very unfortunate race as well for the team, but still good points. 12 points in hand. And Panos and Ferrari with a race victory. It is a double Greek podium for Ferrari. And a massive congratulations as well to McLaren scoring a very, very well-deserved victory for GG Land. It should have been a race victory for him, but unfortunately that track limit penalty will send him down the order 1 position. And that is your finishing position, folks. I will now hydrate before the interviews. Oh, I didn't get it with... And as I did last week, I'll do it again this week. Let's have a look at the fuel. And for the drivers who crossed the line, everyone had more than a lap of fuel left. It looks like GG Land finished with 1.1 laps of fuel. So everyone is cautious with their fuel. But of course, the safety cars, the number of safety cars, the number of virtual safety cars will have drastically helped with fuel saving. I really do hope, at the very least, we get some interviews from the top 3. So bear with me, folks, whilst I just try and make sure... just to find out if we are going to have some interviews, because I certainly would love to know what was going through Techus. I mean, you had an excellent drive. I'd love to know your thoughts as well. We do have a little bit of time, so I'm more than happy to have a couple more interviews, depending on how long they all take, how long people take to get to the waiting room. Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's speak to Panos, your Tier 2 commentator, but also now your Tier 1 race winner. Panos, first of all, a massive congratulations for managing to secure the race victory, first of this season. How was that for you?
Very unexpected, to be honest. I did 5 laps of practice, literally. So didn't expect to be at having the pace, but it was a very lucky race. I mean, championship rivals, I don't know what happened to them. Rico retired and don't know what happened, and Soybean told me he had the power cut off, and that's why he disconnected. But it was a really lucky win, to be honest. Gigi landed from me with a 3-second penalty. He said he doesn't know why he got the penalty, so he might get it removed. But yeah, well, if he does, it is what it is. And it was very unexpected. I mean, those safety cars, especially the first safety car, was very unlucky for me because it came out after I exit the pits. But I made a good strategical choice to save 2 new set of soft tires, which I think really helped this race play the crucial role.
And from qualifying, I mean, you had quite an unfortunate qualifying session, but managed to climb 11 positions. I mean, you were just flying through the pack yourself, and Brizin as well. Brizin went from, I think it was P14 to P3, so 11 positions for him. Doing Ferrari proud, doing doing Greece proud with a double Greek podium. I mean,
Yeah.
that is huge. And what are your thoughts for Monza next week? Thinking that is a narrow
I
circuit, that is going to be a temple of speed.
It will be difficult for me, to be honest. I don't really like Monza, but I'll see what I can do. I mean, I didn't expect much today here as well. I'm not expecting, and I still won. I'm not expecting much next week. So, but you never know what's gonna happen. I'll just do my best, and we'll see how it will go.
Awesome. Well, again, a massive congratulations to you for that race victory. If GG Land does get that 3 seconds removed, then, I mean, still a very well-deserved P2, and GG Land very well-deserved P1. But we'll have to see what the stewards think after they review what I will probably assume a 3-4 hour session of reports. Very unfortunate for the stewards, and I do feel bad for them.
Yeah.
But anywho, congratulations again on that P1. Very well deserved. I look forward to see what you've got in store for us for the Ferrari home race at Monza.
Thank you very much.
And now we are going to speak to the GOAT himself, GG Land. First of all, oh my goodness. You were on fire that race, especially with that late safety car. I mean, you went flying through the pack. You took the lead of the race. I really thought you had it there. But unfortunately, that 3-second time penalty, which I've heard rumours, you're not sure why you got it. So you might try and get the stewards to remove it. But still, a P2 finish for the first time this season, in fact. How are you feeling? How was that race for you?
I mean, what a crazy race that was. I did tons of practice just to learn no line. I didn't end up doing it with no line, but just tons of practice, but like no real good pace. And so I don't know. Like I didn't know whether I would be good or bad or consistent. But just quali lap was pretty lucky because I invalidated twice. But yeah, I just stuck in. Shout out to Flynn for the strategy calls. It was flawless strategy for the safety cars, and I just kept putting in consistent laps and not getting overheated over things. And about the 3 seconds, I'm just looking over it now. Basically on the safety car restart, I went for a move on Tekus and got a 3 second for no reason. So I'll definitely appeal that. I really hope that it gets removed because then that'll be my first win. So, but even with a P2, I'd be happy and I'll accept the result no matter what is the outcome.
I am curious to know, at the end of the race, I'm just having a look at my statistics here, and you finished the race with 43% ERS, and you're trying to build a 3-second gap. How come you didn't use that ERS? How come you didn't push as much as you could, even though the tyres were a bit old?
I think your application is wrong because I used until I was flashing on that last lap.
I would have hoped as much, yeah. I'm not sure what happened there then. Well, ignoring the incorrect statistics, let's look at the actual facts. You managed to go through from a decent qualifying position to then the front of the pack through what was carnage. 3 safety cars, 2 virtual safety cars, something ridiculous like that. And then lead the race for the final few races. And if you do get that 3 seconds removed, you 100% deserve that race victory. And I'm sure Webby is undoubtedly cheering you on with regardless what position you score, because it is a very well deserved. And now I'm very curious to know. So if you're racing, you said you were practicing without line, and you did this race with line. How's your confidence on Monza, the Temple of Speed? It's a tight circuit, as I said to Panos, it's a very tight circuit. Getting overtakes done, maybe quite treacherous, maybe quite difficult. But what are your thoughts on that circuit?
Oh, Monza's always a fun one because not many corners, not much time, not much places to find time. So we'll see how it goes. I'll give it everything. I'll see how the pace is. I don't. Sometimes my pace around it is good, depending on the conditions. I can be good around the wet. Around the dry, maybe not so much. But it's just fun to race around there because there's always tons of battling and things. So I'm looking forward to it.
I think Monza in the wet would be quite interesting, especially considering the fact that last week for ACC we raced at Monza in the wet. So it would be a little trip down memory lane for you. Hopefully you can get into less incidents as you did in ACC.
Yeah, we don't talk about that
We
one.
don't talk about that one. That's fine. That's fine. Well, congratulations again. Very well-deserved podium. Hopefully a race victory. We'll have to see what the stewards say. And I look forward to see what you've got in store for us at Monza.
Thank you.
And I've cut myself off by muting my own microphone. That'll be all for the interviews. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to chat with Brizin, but that is fine. A potential change to the standings. Are you going to see Ferrari still stick it on for that lead of the race, for the trophy at the end of this race, or are the stewards going to deem that 3-second time penalty unjustified and remove it from GG Land? Who knows? Stewards review on Tuesday every week. I do feel sorry for them because they are going to have one hell of a time with a number of reports. Hopefully, they do not end up pulling their hair at the end of the session. But we'll have to see. I'm certainly looking forward to know what the results are of this race. But prior to the results, congratulations, Panos. Well-deserved P1. GG Land with a P2. And Brizin with a P3. 3 people on the podium. I had hopes to see up there. But after seeing what happened on the second safety car, I didn't think it was going to happen. That third safety car changed the course of that race. And all, of course, unfortunate retirements for Rico and for Soybean led to 2 very good competitors out of the race. Soybean losing out on that streak of race victories. On to Monza now next week at Italy. Temple of Speed. Plenty of overtakes, plenty of straights. It's going to be a very low downforce circuit. And I think we're going to see a lot of drivers trying to go for overtakes in the corners, because the DRS won't be as effective when we're around that circuit. So I'll be interested to see how they are going to make that work. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Thank you to the Tier 1 drivers for a thrilling and very confusing and intriguing race. And I certainly look forward to see what they have in store for us for Tier 1 next week. Thank you, everyone, and see you next week.